Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Hey, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. This is the place that we celebrate industry heroes, the women and men of industry, the women and men of manufacturing, and all things in between. You are bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, you innovate like nobody's business, and you're changing the world and you're changing people's lives. That's why we do that. That's why we celebrate you. All right, on the Industrial Talk Hot Seat, we have a young lady by the name of Stephanie Atkinson. Now, go out to her doggone stack card. It's amazing. She is the doggone founder and, CEO of a company called Compass Intelligence. Also the founder of a company called VMark. Also involved with an organization called Elevate Our Kids. She says part-time, but she doesn't do anything part-time. Let's get cracking. Yeah. She is going to be featured on a panel along with Rob Tiffany and Bill Schmarzo. You might have heard them. They're rock stars as well out there in industry. And we're going to be talking a little bit about Industry 4.0. However, you're saying to yourself, Scott, I got it. I understand the Industry 4.0, right? No, not from this angle. What we're really trying to do is, what is the heart? What is the benefit to communities in need, countries in need, countries that don't really have the financial resources to do what we take for granted here? And where is it going to change? Are they going to miss the boat? Or are they going to be pulled right along with this incredible wave of this digital transformation journey? Before we get into that conversation, I need for you, listener 101, whatever. I need for you to, and it's going to be out there, put on your calendar, Digital Summit 2020. Now, that is December 2nd through the 3rd. They're going to be featuring speakers and topics specifically around artificial intelligence. That's going to be the 2nd. And on the 3rd, Digital Twin Day. You can't beat that. Those are heavy-duty, major topics. But we have a panel. The Industrial Talk has a panel, and we're going to be talking about the heart. We're going to be doing the human side of this digital transformation because we should. We should see how it's positively impacting people and communities around the world and the opportunities. All right. Stephanie Atkinson. Oh, God, it's a mouthful. I'm sorry. Atkinson. I have to say it slowly. Stephanie. She's fiery. She is a lot of fun. She's got mad skills. And you go out to her LinkedIn stat card, and that's Atkinson, Stephanie first name. Reach out to her. You won't be disappointed. And she's got a lot of irons in the fire. She's got a tremendous amount of passion for making people and communities and everybody a success. And she's an amazing professional. And boy, were we very fortunate here on the Industrial Talk. She not only said yes to the panel, but she said yes to the podcast. And boy, are we really fortunate about that. I'm not going to take too much more of your time because I'm tired of talking. I want to get into the interview. Here is Stephanie Atkinson on the hot seat. Enjoy the interview. All right, Stephanie, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. It's an honor. It is, for me, an honor that you have joined this platform that celebrates the women and men of industry. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well for a Monday.
Yeah, it is. Now you just you've dated my podcast, and now it can't just go on forever because now you said Monday. You're a podcaster.
Could be November 2020. It could be Monday of next week.
Oh, that's right. It could be Monday forever. Whatever. So thank you very much. I know you're very busy. We talked a lot about that. For the listeners out there, just a little teeny bit, sort of a 411 on who you are.
Oh, well, it's crazy. Well, I'm leading a couple of organizations right now. Compass Intelligence is the tech market research and advisory firm focused on mobile, IoT, emerging tech. And then VMark, focusing on marketing. And then the last thing, Elevate Our Kids, focusing on nonprofit, bridging that digital divide for K-12 students.
All right. She's got a great stat card out there, listeners. And when we start talking about vmark.com, don't go down the road I just went down. That's M-A-R-K. Don't do that. It's MARQUE.com. So please vmark that in your notes if you are taking notes. Now, Stephanie, we've talked a lot, and I've been talking a lot, and I'm sure you talk a lot because you got the IoT coffee clutcher. You've got a podcast, right? You have a podcast that talks about IoT.
Yeah, every Wednesday we have IoTCoffeeTalk.com, and I think we've had 27 episodes. You
need to change it to Coffee Clutch.
Coffee Clutch. Well, it could be one talk, but we do it in the morning.
Yeah, which would be a better talk. IoT wine talk. Oh yeah. Anyway, so just like you and I, and you're in the industry, we have had a number of conversations with leaders all around the world about IoT, Industry 4.0, that digital journey, that digital whatever it is, that edge, cloud, you name it. And for me, it's all great. It's going to be transformative. It works in business. It's all good stuff. And if you're not in it, and if you're not considering it, if you're not looking at it and educating yourself, listener, you better start doing it because that genie has left the bottle. Now, let's talk about the heart of that. I'm always fascinated by, great tech. We in this country are very fortunate to be able to, to have access to great people like you and others. But what about, let's talk a little bit about countries that don't have that type of a resource, don't have, and just give me your feeling about how will it transform communities that, maybe are not as fortunate as maybe we are. How will they be different as a result of IoT?
Yeah, you think about specific countries that just aren't, they may not be advanced companies. They might not have the technology or the resources or the infrastructure. And, so first and foremost, they got to have the infrastructure, right? So in some cases, that's the reason why they're not moving forward. They're not transforming because they don't really have the infrastructure. So that's a big thing. I think even more important, though, Scott, is really the gap between large enterprises and large companies versus small businesses. Because for the longest time, very small businesses, if they were brand new, they were quick and nimble, fast and flexible. But it's the ones that have been around a little bit longer that are like, oh my gosh, COVID-19, pandemic. I now have to operate through virtual operations, really embrace my website, embrace virtual, digital, mobile more than ever. So I find that that's much more of a demographic or firmographic importance right now because of the pandemic. And wow, a lot of eyes opening now.
Yeah. And I think, and fortunately, or I see the benefits. Pre-virus, we were sort of lazy and we're just different maybe. And not bringing our A game, but the virus, from my perspective, Stephanie, has sort of pinpoint that focus on what is truly important. Now, if you want to have a business of resilience and prosper in the future, you better focus on these points, and you better have a business of resiliency. And that is, from my perspective, technology. A point of clarification, when you say large enterprises versus small, are you seeing that there's some challenges with small companies trying to go down this, or is it more large companies having difficulty?
Yeah, I think the larger enterprises, the larger businesses, even larger cities, they are so well targeted that they for the most part understand who they need to go to when they need to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Small businesses, there are so many vendors to choose from. It's quite overwhelming, and they don't really have the resources inside to just go and research and go, okay, I need a mobile app for texting my customers now that I have a discount program going on right now. Right? It's something that I need to do. Well, who's the best SMS customer relationship management tool? They don't have those kinds of answers in front of them. So it's almost like we need an SMB landscape exchange to just let us search for all the tools that we need and start making decisions. They're not going to go to their telecom carrier to find that. They're not going to go to some big tech company.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know who's the app and who's the provider. And they have a hard time understanding where to go find that information.
That is
researching
so
online takes forever.
Yeah, and that is insightful. And the ability to be able to, even I get overwhelmed with, let's say, if I had a nickel every time it says I'm an IoT provider, I mean, I'd be rich. And there's
Right.
just, I don't have the filtering capability to saying, yeah, that's just words. You're legit. Your words. And I hear what you're saying. And what's the solution? What do you do? How do you recommend something going forward? You've touched on a real pain point here.
Yeah, I think that, we started that with VMark. We're starting to kind of put together a list of vendors by application area for small and mid-sized businesses. And it's really more on the mobile marketing digital side. I'm reaching out to customers, communicating with customers. But on the IoT side, why do we not have a small business IoT exchange that allows small businesses to go to filter and find and search and even pitch their needs out to the community to see who's going to help them do that? Because we all know this is an ecosystem play, right? There are more than one vendor that might be providing that solution. How do you put all those pieces together if you're super small, or even a company with 300 employees? You don't. It's so challenging.
And try to survive and rebuild after being hammered by the two-finger death punch of the COVID, and then try to prosper in the future, knowing full well that I have to intuitively I have to be able to have this innovation, this technology, but I don't have the time to sit there and try to ferret out how I want to approach it. That's true.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of, I'm always about collaborating, innovating, and educating. And you're touching upon all of that. You don't have the answers, and you need to collaborate. You just do. Companies.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I also see it kind of a huge gap. We have the big IoT companies that a lot of those that are tech savvy know about. And then you have the specific industry that they might be in, and you look at smaller companies within that industry, they all have a specific kind of top 20 list of brands that they work with for their software, application systems, hardware. But there's that gap in between is where we need to bridge the industry solution providers with the IoT ecosystem, because a lot of times those that are actually offering IoT solutions don't quite understand the industry that they're trying to target, and the ecosystem of vendors that are already doing a whole host of things.
I got to wipe away the tears from my eyes, because I hear what you're saying, and that's been my, one of the things. I was broadcasting from a conference, and one year it was like, yeah, we've got version 2, it's fantastic, it does this, and next year it comes back, we're on version 10, and I'm going, I haven't even done version 1, and you're already on version 10. What are you talking about, and why is that important to me? And then the conversation is like, beep, beep, boop, beep, beep. And it's like, I don't even understand what you're saying. Give me a drink. Stat.
Yeah. See, we IoT coffee talk to IoT wine talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, there it is. Note to self. We've changed it.
Buy that domain.
There it is. Okay. Well, that is absolutely a problem. Now, I want to start talking a little bit about the heart. And you're talking about elevateourkids.org. I want to know a little bit about that for our listeners. What is that all about?
Yeah, so a group of us at IoT Coffee Talk, we have been talking about right when COVID hit and all of the children were really forced to be at home, parents forced to be at home. We as Americans just assumed our kids had laptops, tablets, devices to remote learn. We already knew about the digital divide when it comes to broadband and internet access, but we heard just horrible stories with kids that were actually online or working on their school programs through their cracked iPhone from their mom or their dad. And we're like, something has to shift here. We've got to do something. So we got together, created this nonprofit. There are already nice organizations out there like T-Mobile's Project 10 Million that are focusing on the broadband and the internet piece, providing hotspots and internet access up to 5 years. So we're also working closely with them, but what we're doing is filtering through and finding and locating those schools that are underserved, under-resourced, and providing those Chromebooks, those laptops, those devices, and working with the broadband partners out there to really provide them a full package, as opposed to, here's your broadband. Well, what do I do now if I don't have a tablet? What do I, if I don't have a laptop? So, and it's strictly focused on K through 12.
Yeah, and I'm all into it. That's cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. These books, these computer, it has to happen. Don't get me. I like that. But I'm an irresponsible man, and if you give me a book, I guarantee you I'm going to bust it up. How do you control that? You need it, but I'm pretty irresponsible.
Yeah, good question. This is kind of sent a kind of a tidal wave over to schools. Many schools have already been providing Chromebooks and tablets to their students. And so it has to kind of filter through the school and their IT department. If we gave all of these directly to the families and they didn't have a resource, a landing page, we already see the massive gap in terms of students and even teachers and moms, parents, dads, whatever, that are like, oh my gosh, how do I even get my speakers to come on? So there's still that gap, but we feel like at least we're moving the needle. We get the broadband, we get the devices, we make sure that the schools are helping with the distribution of that, and they are the point of the one throat to choke. But if we took it a step further, we need someone out there to really manage all of these IT questions and support help. We haven't found that piece yet, but we're hearing more about that's in need as well. So if anyone's out there listening and you've got a solution around that, all these K through 12 North Americans, they all
give me a
it.
call. And I'm telling you, it is. And it's so funny to hear. Now, it's been a real positive for me because pre-virus, nobody knew how to get on Zoom. Post-virus, everybody knows how to get on Zoom. And I don't have to have that. No, down at the bottom, click. I don't have to have any of those conversations.
You know what I was saying? Because I'm a researcher at heart, right? I've been doing this for 15 plus years. I'm like, that is the largest research case study we've ever had. We just threw everybody in the mix. Now what do you do? Like, everybody that was researching that market, we've got live data, people. This is a real survey.
It is. And some of it's positive, some of it not so positive, some pushback.
Oh my gosh. I can't get over all the stories of all the mishaps of people not realizing that the camera was on and parents walking by. I mean, it's comical.
It's comical. That's a nice way of putting it. Most definitely. Yeah, but it has to happen. And I think we're social creatures, but I think business DNA has sort of changed now. We can do a lot by this, right? We can accomplish a lot of business virtually. And there's a lot of things that what we thought we needed, we realize we don't need. And so I don't have a future hat on, but your efforts within the Elevate Our Kids is a must. And I like I said, I don't know where it's going, but man, it has to happen. Go ahead.
We're super excited about it, and we can't talk about the who yet, but we got our first very large donation from an energy company, and we will soon be announcing a group of classrooms and students that we're going to be distributing resources to. So we're really excited about that because it's been less than 60 days since we've really started moving the needle, and this is a brand new nonprofit we just started. So
wow,
it's going to be exciting.
And it's that's cool. Now, the question I have, it's how does it, I mean, you're going to distribute it. You're going to go through the school, I would imagine, right? Go through the IT as we look at that. And can you give a sort of order of magnitude of maybe how many kids you will impact?
Right now, we know 150 immediately. And so we kind of group everything in groups of classrooms as you estimate 30 kids to a classroom.
Yeah.
They get a hotspot. They get unlimited internet for 6 months. And after that, 4.5 years, 100 gigabytes per month. So they get that hotspot. They get their Chromebook, the Chromebook license. It's white glove service. So when they get it at the school, everything's loaded. They open it up. It's ready to go.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything.
See, I love the frictionless component to that. Because all I could think of, okay, and then they open it up, okay, and then they turn it on, okay. But you've done it.
Now we can't train you on how to actually use the device, so
okay.
that's
okay. Now with that technology, as we know, has been driving, the costs have been going down, and it's becoming more commoditized. It just is. The books, these Chromebooks and so on are becoming more commoditized. I mean, price-wise, they're in the realm of saying, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, we're partnering with OmniPro out of California, and they've just developed, and they have such great resources. We're able to really garner the price point that we need to make it affordable for us to keep fundraising and get these out as quickly as we can to students. So big shout out to them and T-Mobile for supporting us with all of this.
T-Mobile. Well, that's when I posted.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the shout out to those. I'm going to link them.
Awesome.
That is absolutely, and you're just not going to stop from there. How does this whole, and I throw this question out to you. And once again, we've been down this digital journey. We've been having a grand old time. Everything's just wonderful. And the future's bright and, beautiful, right? How do we train our children or is it just by nature that they're just going to know about this? And is that all a part of this too as well, this sort of digital connectivity?
Yeah, I mean,
journey?
I know there are a ton of resources. I know, like for Google Chrome, they have tons of free videos. Everything's free. So there are some resources already out there.
Yeah.
It's the connecting. I think the challenges for parents and for students and for teachers today is they're quickly adopting apps like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and other back office software applications for K-12 education. And it's training them on how to use those the software itself and the apps and how to manage things. And then this year it's all about AV, audio, visual, and how do I connect things? How do I get my sound on? How do I get all of, my headset on? Those are things that no one thinks about, no one thought about. And so, yeah, that's the other piece. Gosh, if we could find some partners to help provide some of the AV equipment for the students, because you think about every family and every home. They may not have a quiet place. They may not have even an office, a room that they can go in. Some of them are all sharing. They've got parents working right next to kids learning. So it's very important that we not only think about the Chromebooks, but also another step is all of the other equipment and ancillary devices that they need to actually have a quiet learning environment.
Yeah, see, you don't want to lock and load on the Chromebooks, and then all of a sudden the whole picture is not completed, and it just sort of, once again, it doesn't achieve what your vision needs to be. And so there's a lot of moving parts, and you're dealing with families, and you're dealing with communities, and there's so many variables that are involved.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the beauty of a part about Elevate Our Kids is once we do the handoff, we bow out. So it really is the responsibility of the school to find those resources, to tap into a lot of the free and available resources for Google Chrome, tap into Zoom, because there's a lot of training and free information that's out there, but they have to kind of know how to go about that. Now, the problem is a lot of schools didn't even have technical leaders at their school. So now they're having to designate or even find a parent to help volunteer. Yeah. I think the whole community has to step in. If you have some skill sets in your school district, man, we need you.
See, that's, boy, you just keep on pulling on that string. It has to happen. And I think the sort of the silver lining in all this is that kids are pretty resilient. They bounce around. I always have problems with Teams. It doesn't boot up for whatever reason. I'm not blaming Teams. Microsoft, I'm not blaming you. Trust me. However, sometimes it's like it doesn't want to boot up, and then I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do a couple of things. That's me. Okay. But when I'm in it, it has so much more capabilities that it's like, wow. And I don't even use little teeny fraction of it, man, compared to I just use
I mean, I think the collaboration piece is the part that I think people don't know enough about. But, mid-sized businesses are probably learning even more so about, especially since they have a lot of their employees and their staff working from home. And so it's like, okay, what other tools can we leverage and we use? Oh my gosh, by the way, we're already paying for this license. Why are we not getting the full capabilities out of all of the services that are being offered? So, I mean, the vendors also have to do a better job at communicating that.
Yes, there it is, man. I'm just telling you, when you started down that road, I just said, vendors, do it. Get off your took-us.
Don't just sell the license. We need to know all of the stuff that we could do with this. It's like, think virtual. Think that these guys are at home indefinitely. What else can you share with them that they need to be using? You want that stickiness. You want them to renew their license.
Yeah.
There's other stuff coming, believe me, because of this.
Yeah.
There's other competition coming.
And it's great. If we get past it and this is the next normal, whatever new normal, whatever that normal looks like, and kids have to go back to school and then kids get sick, now all of a sudden the infrastructure's in place. You can be sick at home and still go to school. Sorry, kids.
Yeah. That's
works.
a sad thing. And I think that we're probably a few years away. I look at what's coming down the pipeline with the vaccine, and I'm no health expert, but we all know that the children are going to be at the lower end of that list of priorities unless they have diabetes or asthma or whatever, some kind of condition.
At risk. Yep.
That means that kids K through 12, they are going to be remotely learning for maybe longer than even parents going back to work might be. So, that's also a problem, right? How do we get our parents back to work if they have to be with their kids at home?
And I'm so glad that Elevate Our Kids is taking responsibility for that and coming up with solutions.
We're doing our best.
You're doing your best. That's all you can, and you're passionate about, and that's what's important too.
Yeah, we're super excited, and we can't wait to make some of our formal announcements. And hopefully, we have some other corporations and big companies that want to get involved and give back. Because we're really focusing on diverse neighborhoods and inclusivity, and those that are really just underfunded. They need support.
There's a ton. How do you find out that a community is underfunded?
Yeah, so there's quite a few, there's already quite a few information database-wise at the federal, state, local levels to showcase what percentage of those students are on lunch programs, what kind of funding. Yeah, so there's some stats that are out there. Also in both our application process as well as T-Mobile's Project 10 Million application process, it's asking all of those types of questions to understand where they're located. Do they even have an IT department? Do they currently fund and provide equipment to students? And then, of course, the funding information, there's a lot of publicly available information. Of course, we're focusing on public schools, not private schools.
Right.
So there's a lot of information that's already available.
See, and you being a researcher, it's nothing big. I know to go here, there, do, that, do. It's not a big deal for you. It's not a big. Do you have to take that? Do you have to take that call?
No.
Because it's, if you have to, you just go right ahead. We'll just sort of hang tight here.
Let me tell you my problem. I filled out a form to research health insurance for my small business, for my family, and I should not have hit the submit button because I'm getting about 50 phone calls on both lines.
I was going to say, they know how to contact you.
It's really, really bad. And it's like, see? And now they're offering me credit up to $99,000.
Get out of there. Good for you.
No, that's not good. I'm also on that list. Let's provide Stephanie funding list.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so we're going to have to wrap this up. Now, I see that you're pretty active out there on LinkedIn. If people want to get a hold of you, I would say go to LinkedIn. Is that a decent way of doing it?
LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm pretty active on all social media channels. I would say, I think about businesses in general. Twitter and LinkedIn are the business social apps. Facebook is
I agree.
For business. Instagram is great if you're in retail, selling something, but outside of that, it's not a very big tech, oriented.
What's your Twitter?
I'm Steph Atkins 2011. Steph Atkins, actually.
That's STEPH Atkins.
Yes, Steph Atkins is my Twitter account, and Compass Intel as well. But I'm actually way more active on Steph Atkins than I am Compass Intel.
You know why? You know why? People are far more interested in connecting with people as opposed to companies. It just is.
Same thing with LinkedIn. If you look at your company page, there's not a lot of movement interactions. If you post something that's from you personally, people respond. Yeah, that's exactly correct. That's why we're social creatures. Be social out there. All right, Stephanie, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Tech. You were absolutely wonderful, and I'm really big into that Elevate Our Kids. Every time I talk to you and others that have a .org, now all of a sudden I want to just put on my, help the world hat and, bite off. We call it Tech for Good. If we're not giving back. Tech for Good. You need to do it. Well, you know what, Scott? I want to thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Rob Tiffany, for introducing us, because this is pretty awesome. He's a spark plug, just like you. That's why we do well on IoT Coffee Talk together. I think all of us on that podcast, we all are a hot mess, so we love each other. And we could go a long time on why that's important, especially if you want to get into the Tech for Good world. You got to be real too. You got to be human. Yes. Listen to me. Change up those webinars, please. Change them up. Make them fun. Exactly. All right, Stephanie, thank you very much. All right, listeners, you know the rule. You're going to have to stick around. We're going to sum it up on the other side. So stay tuned, and thank you very much again for joining the Industrial Talk podcast. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
What did I tell you? Did she just drop the truth bombs or what? Stephanie Atkinson. She is the CEO, founder, and just all-around great person at Compass Intelligence. The Marquee. Not Marquee. Sorry, Stephanie. V Mark. That's MARQUE. And then, of course, founder and president of Elevate Our Kids. That's what we talked about. Big heart. Big solutions. Bold, brave. She dares greatly. She is somebody that you want to hang out with. Go out to her on LinkedIn. Reach out, connect. You will not be disappointed. Again, we need to collaborate, innovate, and definitely educate. And that means you need to go to this digital summit. It is all three of those wrapped up in a great event. That's December 2nd through December 3rd. Artificial intelligence, digital twins on the docket. It'll all be out there at industrialtalk.com. Thank you very much for joining. Be safe, and we'll be back with another great interview. Take care.